I don't know how interesting my journey is.
Jani.
Janina Putzker, very skilled Austrian freelance animator.
I'm in Vienna. There's nothing going on there. Can I do it? Can I learn 2D animation? It was like, it's gonna be such a struggle. This is my path. This is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. My heart is pounding and I'm like, oh gosh, no, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. It leads to depression and suicide, and it was never as bad as it is nowadays.
When did you develop that?
That's an interesting question. I'm struggling now a bit to find the balance. I tend to overthink a lot. It's not a hero's journey. You have to push yourself into the story. Nothing is stopping you but yourself. We all see ourselves as the main characters of our own stories, but I think instead we should just... It's a Mind Game by Masaaki Yuasa.
Why?
Basically do whatever the fuck they wanted to do, change the style, they use 3D, they change the character designs. I've never seen a sex scene, very abstract, very intimate. They were allowed to come up with a new set of rules that just keeps surprising you, that challenges the audience to...
Quick one, I wanted to speak directly with you all before we jump into this episode. As you can see, we're scaling up and shifting course, and I promise that is exactly what I'm going to keep doing. How I'm doing that is evolving into these conversations. So one favor, if you've ever watched this show, and especially if you've enjoyed it or learned something new and interesting, do me a favor and follow on this platform or just share these videos around. It really, really helps me scale up the production, scale up the guests, so everything just gets bigger and bigger. And I promise I will repay that gesture by making sure everything gets better and better and bigger and bigger. How does that sound?
Jani, thank you so much. I genuinely mean that. Thank you so much for being here. I'm excited to talk to you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, you're so welcome. Could you, for the benefit of people who are listening, someone might not know you.
Oh boy.
Could you, in your own words, tell us a bit about yourself and the mission you're on with Any-mation?
That's a toughie.
Okay, ignore it. Yeah.
Well, I might need more takes than one for this one. No, it's I don't know how interesting my journey is, but so when I was about 19 or something, everyone's trying to find their way. And I was at that time, I think, when Disney declared it's like, I'm not gonna do 2D anymore, right? And it was frustrating for me because as every 19-year-old girl, I was like very into the old Disney classics. And, I sat there and I was just wondering, it's like, because I'm in Vienna, there's nothing going on there, film industry or animation, like whatsoever. So I thought, it's like, can I do it? Can I learn 2D animation? And I just researched a bit and I found a little school in Germany that was just a 1-year education. And then I immediately fell in love with the medium. I was like, this is my path. This is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life, which is kind of a bold statement for a 20-year-old, 19-year-old. But so after that, I applied to the Film Academy Baden-Württemberg. That's like a 4.5 years of intense studying. And from that on, I was always working as a freelancer on the side already. And I weirdly found my way into being a very, you would say, like a successful industry animator. And I realized that, like, fuck, this is not what I want. Because I always wanted to do my own content, to create my own content, and to be a director. I don't know how it happened. You got to find work, and it's harder to find work as a director as if you're an animator. It's way easier. So I think that's why I'm struggling now a bit to find the balance. Because there's also a difference between being a director in the industry. You get like commercial gigs and you get to tell other people's stories, right? And that's also not what I want. So now I'm trying to find a balance. I'm working as an animator and I put that money into the production of my own feature film. So yeah, that's kind of my journey. That's where I am right now.
Is it your deep desire to get your stories out of your head?
Yeah, I think I want more stories out there that are not money driven, which is a very tough mission, I think. But also stories that are more about real life, like slice of life stories, where you're sitting in the cinema and you can really say, damn, that woman that's just trying to find her shit, trying to figure her shit out. That's really me, and not that super warrior who is strong and independent and knows her shit, and she's just like fighting for justice. Like, it's not who I am.
Because your content, in terms of slice of life, that's smosh, isn't it?
It's called now. It's called Hook in the Mouth.
Hook in the mouth.
Yeah.
So, if your mission is slice of life, like where did that come from?
You mean the ambition of making a kind of slice of life?
Yeah.
Or?
Is that what you're actually looking for? Or are you just having fun with what'd you say? Hook in the mouth?
Hook in the mouth.
That's great.
I think it's a little bit of both because, my previous shorts and my previous work is very much quirky and weird and internet culture. And I do want to keep that. I'm very much into this kind of random humor, pushing it to something that is just, not commercial. But I think combining that approach with slice of life, that's something that was very intriguing to me because it's like, usual slice of life movies like Francis Ha or Worst Person in the Universe or something, yet they're set in real life because it's like supposed to be very close to life. But what we are going to try is to tell a slice of life story within a universe that is everything but ordinary, that is just fucked up and weird and unnecessarily sexual. But I think that's kind of my challenge for this movie, I think.
Have you figured it out yet, or is it you're still?
So we're writing the script at the moment, but we know the story and what we were going for.
I won't pull any more out of you. Keep that close.
I can give you a little log line, but I don't know if you can make much of that.
A little log line.
A little log line.
Movie.
It's a story, all right.
One you've seen? ?
I doubt it.
Well, I'm excited for it. And speaking of unusual perspectives, could you bring up your chosen topic?
Ooh, yes, it's a Mind Game by Masaaki Yuasa.
Now, of course, the biggest question is why?
Well, you asked me for a movie that inspires me. And I found it hard because I don't think I actually find inspiration much within already finished movies, because it's kind of, you don't bake an incredible cake by repurposing other cakes. It's more like I try to find inspiration within something that is not finished and polished and interpreted yet. But Mind Game encourages me in a lot of ways and motivates me. And I think the biggest thing is that it's just so bold. It's just so bold and it breaks so many rules and it works and it's great. I love it. And what motivates me is that I think that boldness actually is the result of a low budget, because it was quite a low budget production, and Yuasa had to find ways to, he had to be inventive and find more efficient ways to tell the story. And so originally the first act, like the whole scene in the bar and everything, was supposed to be live action. Until he realized, like, oh, it's not gonna work. And then they came up with this super quirky hybrid of, I don't even know what to call it, like a live action collage.
Yeah, because it feels almost like newspaper cutouts sometimes.
Yeah, exactly.
Stages, yeah.
And I think it's that big jump of like almost realism to like the stylized anime characters that allowed them, like that opened the door for them to basically do whatever the fuck they wanted to do within this movie. Like later on, they changed the style, they use 3D, they changed the character designs, and it's all like accepted by the audience because they established it kind of right from the start, right? So that's very inspiring, because usually in commercial productions, you have your usual pipeline, right? You have your animatic, you go to layout, posing, key animation, blah, 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 all that. So all of the departments know what's up. They have their guidelines, their design rules. So at the end of the day, everything looks coherent and consistent, right? And in Yuasa's movie, it's almost like for every scene, they were allowed to come up with a new set of rules. That just keeps surprising you. And I'm like very much into content that keeps surprising you and that challenges the audience to let go of their expectations and just enjoy the ride. I think that's really cool, because in one scene, all of a sudden there's something super fancy going on with the light, and there's a 3D camera move or something, and you're like, it's nothing like the other scenes, but that's all right. That's beautiful.
Yeah. One thing that jumped out to me there is the idea of, limitations in some areas actually become an artistic pursuit. Mm-hmm. And when you were talking, because I actually, for the first time ever, I didn't do any research in the background of Mind Game. I'm talking purely from my experience of watching it. Mm-hmm. So it's fascinating to learn. I'm learning. I'm learning. I was like, I'm curious to see what you come with. But Yuasa's work his body of work is hugely inspiring. Really, that everything he does, even more recently in OO, is like, you're just kind of like, how do you do this?
Admit, I haven't even seen it.
Have you not? Okay, sorry. What's even Lou Over the Wall or Ride Your Wave? You're just kind of like, he's so experiential.
Yeah, I loved his short film, with the kickboxers.
I haven't seen that. Yeah,
so quirky, such a cool animation. Yeah. It's just a joy to look at.
But he's really prolific in how much work he does is insane. Like he's done series like Kaiba or the Tatami Galaxy or Ping Pong.
Yeah,
all
did
these
he
series.
do Chin-chan as well and stuff?
He did, yes. Yeah, one of the movies, I think. Yeah.
I think first he became a really good animator.
You think so? Yeah.
Which is also a bit my path, so I can relate. And I think that was kind of his debut Mind Game, right?
Yeah.
And he was, I think, in his mid-30s, like me. so I'm like,
huge parallels here. Yeah,
it's time now. That's no, but what I really liked also was that. So it's a manga adaptation, right?
Yes, I knew that. Yeah.
Yeah, and he pretty much stuck to the story, apart from one thing, which is the ending. Because initially, so in the manga, only Nishi, the main character, gets to have like a second chance at life, right? And Yuasa, in an interview, he said like, I don't want only young people to get this second chance at life. I want everyone to get a second chance in life. So at the end of the movie, he kind of resets the time. So yeah, but just this one choice by this one Yakuza who's just like, you know what, fuck this. I'm gonna meet a woman I love at the train station. It just sets off these individual paths that all like turn out differently. Then it's quite beautiful.
Yeah, it is beautiful, and the message you put sticks right at the end as well. Like, this has always been happening, or I can't remember the exact phrase, but it's just kind of like, whoa, he really. Because storytelling is obviously, well, this is different because it's so multi-layered with all the multiple characters, but storytelling is generally like one person's perspective and supporting characters, and they've gone on their journey.
Exactly.
And then he's just like, by the way, this has always been happening, and you're just like, whoa, what a way to end. And that beautiful montage then of it, like he's animated.
Yeah, I mean, the movie, I think is really, or the manga, the story is really about like the richness of what one individual life can have, and how we should embrace it, find that richness, even though we're not achieving our dreams, or we're not turning out to be the successful person we always wanted to be or something. But that's what I find interesting about slice of life, but also it's weird what's going on in storytelling, because I understand that we as humans, we all see ourselves as the main characters of our own stories, right? But we are also not idiots. Like, we know that the world doesn't revolve around us. We know that if a butterfly lands next to us on a flower, it isn't a sign that, it's not for us. It's just life. So I'm wondering why it has to happen in scripts. Like, why does everyone has to be designed to, progress the character's journey, the main character's journey. And it's getting boring, and it to an extent that it's not authentic anymore either. And that's why I love also like Miyazaki's work, of course, because there's so much happening in the background, so many characters who all seem to have their own shit to figure out, their own life stories, and it just opens up this universe. And we just happen to follow this one character, but we might as well just make another movie about this frog who is, I don't know, that's what I like about Slice of Life. Not everything is designed to make our main character grow. Yeah. And not everything in life is designed for our personal growth. Some things are just happening, and which is beautiful.
It's like a question of external motivators versus the internal journey, right? It's funny, I was talking to Jana about the same thing. This idea of, I think the fatigue comes from a direct literary translation of the hero's journey. Like direct, whereas the actual layout of that discussion of the idea of the monomyth is human beings tend to live the same lives, but externally different things happen to us, but internally we come to conclusions around the same time as points in our lives. And there's a lot of, like, mythology is basically a blueprint that people have laid out, because you can't like write back then. There was no real writing, so mythologies are passed verbally. And it's only now that, we've writing texts and all this stuff that we can record permanently throughout time. And there's so much now. That's why they had to tell interesting stories. This is my perspective anyways, because it would stick in people's minds then. And they became these mythologies, which became gods, which became sources of religion. But ultimately, like Campbell's point of the monomyth is, it's an internal journey. And we've lost that in modern storytelling because they externalize everything massively, And
that's the wow effect or something.
Exactly.
Like everything's shiny and perfect.
Yeah.
It's a weird trend that's going on right now.
Yeah. I think it's a misunderstanding of it, I think.
But also I don't think that we all grow in the same like our internal journeys are very, very different. And I'm a lot into development theory as well.
Right. Yeah.
So I do believe strongly in. So there is a theorist who is talking about the 3 stages of development, where he talks about that some people will never reach the third or even the second stage of development, which kind of goes from, being socialized, having a socialized mind, trying to be a part of the tribe, which is kind of the second one. And as the third one being the self-authoring mind, where you try to kind of create your own set of rules by just getting more experiences and visiting other places, other cultures, getting more impressions. And you take all of that and you try to, self-author your life in a way. And I think that's interesting because I said we all see ourselves as like the main character in our own stories, but I think instead we should just try to be the author and director of our lives, right? To be like, well, I define the genre, I define who I am, who the main character is, right?
That's a far more powerful way of looking at it, and I like that.
It gives you more control as well, because otherwise I think people... they keep finding excuses of like, I'm waiting for my chance here. I'm waiting for the signs, but my journey just doesn't seem to start. It's like,
turn the key, baby.
There is no, it's not a hero's journey. There won't be a calling that you first have to refuse and then you accept. You have to push yourself into the story.
Yeah, exactly. And I love what you say there, because you're totally right in that. This journey is not going to start for everyone, because a lot of people don't, I think, and this might sound harsh, but there's a certain awareness, self-awareness that you need to begin that journey. Yes. And sometimes people aren't honest with themselves, or they're afraid to open those gates to go down that difficult path.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people don't even want to grow.
Exactly.
Right? And which is totally fine. Like if you're in a place where you find happiness, or you find that richness that Yuasa is showing in the movie, right?
It's very rich, yeah.
It's fair enough, You don't have to be ambitious and, change yourself until you are the very best version of yourself. I think finding happiness in life is the most important thing anyway.
Yeah, happiness. I don't know how else to describe it. Just bliss. A kind of a state of acceptance and awe of the world. And allowing that to kind of wash through you in a positive way. Yeah,
and I think that's something I am struggling as well a lot, especially now. Not getting younger and. I am fighting because I have big ambitions. I'm working on a feature film now without any budget, and I am not really eager to enter the whole procedure, of like money. Find a producer, talk merchandise opportunities, talk about target audience, and they will butcher down your story so they can show it to younger audiences or whatever. I just want to work on it, right? Yeah. I think a few days ago, I even tried to do the math. It's like, if I animate 1.5 minutes per month, could I finish this feature in 7 years?
Oh my God, wow.
That's how desperate I am.
To not have the heavy weight of a studio or a financier opinions.
But you know what? I think as long as I can work on it, I think I would be content, and I could find contentment in, I do what I love. I feel a purpose, and I will still find some time to actually enjoy life and find that richness, not just within my work, but with everything around.
Yeah, and I think that's my experience of you, definitely. Anytime we...
Trying.
But anytime we spend time together, I feel it's like a lovely introspective conversation, or we have fun, You know, it's fun, but also meaningful, deep conversations. But at the same time, we can have crack jokes. And I see the path that you're leaning toward, and it's exciting, it's beautiful, and the work that you put in is very passionate. You know.
Yeah, and I think that's just worth it. Like, you know, people was like, it's gonna be such a struggle. I was like,
okay,
maybe, but you know. Whatever.
Yeah. And
just take it step by step.
But I mean, if someone like Yuasa got there, whose style is unique, totally unique, outside of any perspective,
and he's so prolific as well. Like, and that's very encouraging as well. If like the output is just incredible, and I'm like, okay, I gotta whip myself a bit. Come on, it's not that hard.
I mean, he was at Annecy last year, and I saw him. I said hello, but he doesn't speak much English. So
I assumed,
couldn't connect with him to that level. But I'd love to sit down, and because that seems like a mind you want to pull apart.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. No, I think so.
We were talking about limitations of budgets, right? Something that popped into my head when that happened, when we were talking about that, is, you know, the choice of color palettes throughout the film. It's very interesting, you know, especially the whale escape. And like this, just it switches between characters. The whole screen is yellow, the whole screen is red as they're like bursting through it. But
flashy.
It's flat. But it's also like, he doesn't have to go in and color one character, follow that through, paint shadows, do anything, color the eyes, any of that stuff, color the hair. It's literally, it feels like it's printed on yellow paper for those moments, or printed on red paper. And I wonder, is that a choice, do you think, budget-wise, or a style, or a mix?
I think he just wanted to provoke a certain feeling of chaos and confusion, I think. I mean, I'm not sure. Like, he goes really crazy, not just with the colors, but the style, like the whole dance scene where they're all like, it's incredible. It's just like so bold to just. And what I always want to know is like, how does he come up with something like this? It's like, where does it come from? It's like, you know what, guys, we're going to make a super quirky, kind of, I don't know, 80s styled, but maybe that comes actually from his history of like, he did Chin-Chan and all these like very quirky TV series as well. So maybe that was a bit of a nostalgic moment for him as well. I'm not sure.
But even the first love session that they have, and they start morphing and shaping.
Oh, yeah. But that actually doesn't look cheap. That looks like a fucking expensive piece of sequence.
It feels like it's on ones, you know, and everything is moving and manipulating. And
it's so amazing. I've never seen a sex scene that is expressed in like this very abstract but very intimate kind of way.
There's an episode of Space Dandy he directed. You know Space Dandy, really? The anime Watanabe's one.
Oh, I didn't know he directed one episode.
Yeah, and you see it and you're just like, this is Yuasa. Because, you know, the whole thing with Space Dandy was every episode is disconnected from the previous one. If the animators wanted to be, or the creators, he's like, you can kill them, you can do whatever you want. It just resets the next time around. So be creative, be free. It's like he always compares everything to music, and he's like, it's like bringing collaborators onto an album, and you immediately feel Yuasa's work because the character modeling is changed to his style. He didn't even try.
Nice.
You know,
it's like Yuasa came to a huge cake buffet. So, here's what we're gonna do.
But it there's like a strange absurdity which how he approaches storytelling, but there's a sincerity built into that. Like in the Space Dandy episode, it's about a fish who lives on a planet that every once in a while the sun burns the whole planet, and he's trying to get back to his planet to talk to a girl he loves who actually doesn't love him. You know, that kind of, and you're just like, wow, only
Very
Yuasa
lifelike,
would.
very lifelike,
exactly,
right?
yeah. Very lifelike. You
Not
don't see
getting the love interest at the end of the movie. How dare you?
But that's Yuasa, you know, in terms of things like Mind Game, the way he approaches the story is so... Now, again, I haven't read that manga either. I don't read mangas.
Sure you don't.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You caught me earlier.
Me neither.
The way it's structured is just phenomenally abstract. Like you said, it keeps surprising you. That opening with the bar and, you know, he decides, he finally gets the courage to say something and is immediately killed.
Yeah.
And you're just like, that shocked me when I saw it.
Yeah.
You know, it totally shocked me.
Yeah, like you said, he treats every character, even if it's like a side character, like, yeah, this guy has also a story. So I love the car chase scene.
Oh my God.
I hate car chases. Like, there's nothing more in movies that I hate than car chases. But this car chase was right. It was good. Yeah. I mean, the other car chase that I really appreciate was in Mad Max. But, I mean, there was nothing else but a car chase. Yeah, that
is a car chase, yeah.
What I really love is that at some point, I think the bad guy's car is, like, about to crash into, I don't know, he's about to die. And there's this glimpse of, like, this little bird flying on his hand, right, on his finger. And there's this flashback to him as a little boy, as like everything he wanted was that his bird who escaped comes back to him, right?
Yeah.
And then he kind of comes back as a little bird ghost. But I appreciate that scene so much because it was just like this little glimpse, but you're like, oh yeah, this bad guy who is about to die had a life as well. Yeah. And yeah, I mean, you don't get that in like action movies. It's like, another one down. No one cares. Right?
They're just fodder for the main characters to defeat.
They're like just obstacles. Really.
Yeah.
And he makes him a real person, even though this guy wasn't even introduced as being anyone at first. But then it's like, yeah, it's sad. It's a life full of richness, just gone. When I was at a car chase, I never laughed so hard when that car, you know, when he has to go in between those two trucks.
Yeah.
And the car just flips because he saw it in some kind of action movie. But then the way it just wiggles through in such a weird and goofy way. And I'm like, this is hilarious. This is so good. I love this kind of playing with people's expectations. And this was really set up as like, okay, what's going to happen? Because whatever he just imagined isn't going to happen. And it was still a surprise. And I love that shit. Yeah. It's so good.
It's so true. Like I know we keep coming back to it, but it's really true to life then. It's like,
yeah, exactly.
You know, what you expect to happen never happens. It's like the conversation you have in your head in the shower where you're like going to confront your boss tomorrow and they're going to say this and I'll say that. And then you walk up and you're like, good morning. It never happens.
Crying in the shower the next day is like, this is what I should have said.
Yeah. I should have said bad morning. Yeah.
That would have shown him.
But it you know, because I think a lot of people, if you put the trailer for Mind Game on, they'd be like, what am I experiencing? But within all that absurdity comes pure truth.
Yeah.
Pure truth in life. Whereas these things never go the way you're expecting. And within all that madness, there's also some of the most beautiful animation I've ever seen in my life.
Right.
You know, truly.
Yeah. But it's also, how important your life decisions are.
Yes.
Right? I have this weird rule for myself that, you know, whenever I'm scared or uncomfortable being confronted with something, it's like, damn it, I'm scared for a reason. I need to do it now.
You're aware of that?
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm like, I cannot not do it now just because I'm scared, because I feel like I'm scared because this is something important. Mm-hmm. And if I just say no to that, I might miss out on something that leads to another thing, right? So I think, that's also part, like a theme of the movie, is like how important how impactful your life's choices can be. Obviously not all of them, but I'm trying to push myself to say yes more to things that I'm purely saying no, initially saying no to, because I'm like, my heart is pounding and I'm like, oh gosh, no, I don't want to do this. But
when did you develop that? Like, when were you first aware of that? Is that a recent thing, or?
Good question. I think I also have this, I am only nervous or scared. I keep it for right before it happens. So, it's easy to say yes to something if the being scared or being nervous moment happens later.
Okay.
But yeah, where did it come from? That's an interesting question, because I'm not sure when it actually started. Yeah, since I'm 19 and I decided to move out and go to learn how to animate, I was trying to stay on the path, and fear was only just an obstacle coming your way. And I was like, if I don't jump over that obstacle, I might not find my path back or something like that.
Yeah.
It's kind of like maneuvering through.
Because that's a choice, A lot of people don't realize it, but that's a choice, and choices are developed.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm super curious, because that's a great way to live.
Well, I consider myself being a very self-reflecting person.
Yes.
And I am very influenced by a philosopher. He was Austrian, actually, Alfred Adler.
Of course, yeah. I'm not familiar with his work. I was joking. Yeah.
It's just because it was an Austrian. It's just following him and Arnold. That's what I am.
Yeah. When you're running for California,
wait for it.
Yeah.
Funny thing is, he was the same time as Sigmund Freud, and his philosophy couldn't be any different than Freud's. It was almost like an Asian philosophy. And people back then, they weren't ready for it. That's why his name wasn't really mentioned a lot. But so his philosophy is all about how you are the only person standing in the way of your ambitions and dreams. Like, you can change at any point in your life. You just need to want it. Because what, people try, and it's all about how not to find excuses, right? People's like, I just don't have the time, I don't have the money. If I have just learned how to draw when I was younger, or took this opportunity, they keep coming up with excuses that make them feel comfortable in the place they are, even though, and then at some point you have to admit, the world isn't against you. Mm-hmm. People around you aren't against you. Nothing is stopping you but yourself. And the philosophy is also about it's kind of task division. So to let go of things that is really not your task to do. Mm-hmm. Like when someone isn't getting back to you, or you write a message and it's not messaging you back, instead of thinking about what you've done wrong, what is going on, let go and say, this is actually not my responsibility, and I can't put these expectations there because it was not my place to do so in the first place. And kind of like letting go of overthinking things in a way, which helped me a lot, because I tend to overthink a lot. And I think also within production, as a director, I think letting go sometimes can be a good thing, and knowing your strengths and weaknesses, and not insisting of always having it your way, and receiving work of others and be like, you know what, this is okay as well. It's not necessarily what I had in mind, but it's good.
It is a truth that people are not against you. The world is not against you. people are just for themselves most of the time, and that doesn't mean they're against you. You know, it's a radically different way of thinking, which is necessary, I think.
Honestly, I always thought it's like, if you care about yourself, at least you have one person who cares about you.
That's a terrific and sad.
I don't think there's anything wrong about that.
Yeah.
I think we all are self-centered in a way, which is totally fine, as long as you're not hurting other people or something.
And, you know, in context of Mind Game, really it's that idea of what changes the story is when he decides to take the courage to start changing his life.
Yeah.
You know, he decides to speak up and gets killed.
He takes it in his own butt.
Yeah, exactly. But then he meets God and fights to live again, to change that moment, you know.
I mean, there's this amazing phrase that he's like, when they're in the inside of the whale, right? When he's screaming, is like, it's not even about me becoming the best mangaka. I don't even need to become very good at it. I just want to be part of this world. I want to be part of it. And it's so beautiful. And it's like, yeah, you know what? It isn't the most important thing that you actually reach your goals and become successful or rich or whatever your ambitions are, right? And that's actually the theme of my own movie as well. It's all about failure and failing at life. And when you can't succeed, where do you stop, right?
Yeah.
Like, especially when you're spending the best part of your life when you're young and you can still do things and stuff. You know, people always say, it's like, yeah, but I'm working towards my future. I'm working towards my future. And it's like, oh yeah, what are you gonna do when you're 70? You wanna finally start living your life? Is that what you're working for? Is that what you spent the nights for? I don't know. I'm not sure. But I think it's, trying to find that balance, because obviously, like, the work brings you joy as well. Shouldn't neglect the other good parts of life.
No, totally. And you know, it's something that Campbell, I love, said, which is, every decision a young person makes is a decision toward their life's course.
It has a lot of pressure.
Because that's what we do. You know, we think about, like you said, oh, I'm going to do this for this reason. And you're thinking about you're always thinking about your future. And he's just like, there comes a time where suddenly you don't have a future anymore. The worst thing I can imagine is like, oh God, imagine you actually finished this feature and, you know, people might like it or not, but then you're finished. What then? I was like, I don't even want to reach that point. But that's why I actually really like Mind Game as well, because a big problem with movies is they get to the end and everyone, la la la, happy. What do they do when they wake up the next morning? You know, what happens next? So, and that's what sequels try to answer, you know. But Yuasa answers that immediately. You know, he's like, what came before, what comes after.
This journey has never ended, right?
Yes, that's it. Yeah.
That's what I love about slice of life movies as well. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily put Mind Game in, maybe has aspects of slice of life, I'm thinking, but what I really love about slice of life movies in general is that usually at the end of the movie, the main characters, they aren't completed. They didn't finish their journey. There might be like a glimpse of growth or change that, you know, because that's what life is. It's it kind of comes in steps. It's not a gradual growing on a linear basis. It's not what life is. I think you learn something, or you meet people, or you have experiences, and that will make you growth. But sometimes we grow back. You know, we fall back into old behaviors that we thought, I got rid of that by now. Jesus. But that's what is like also a lot into, I don't know if you've seen Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, but I really love the main character.
What is that?
It's a TV show.
Okay.
And so the main character just she wants to grow, and she is self-aware of her issues, and she keeps falling back into her old behaviors. And I really love that about this character, because this is what life is. This is the struggle. This is the thing we are all struggling with, right? It's like, you can't just grow and then stop working on yourself because when people get older and all the quirks are just getting stronger, and you're like, oh my gosh, how did this happen? Because it keeps coming back, right? It keeps overtaking your growth like a little shadow.
It's like but it's also, if you don't challenge these things, they just will stay and become these monstrous parts of you. And you don't even realize that, you're, this kind of concept of the grumpy old person. It's just because they're clinging onto things that they want a way that they want the world to be. Yeah. That, the only constant really in life is change, bizarrely.
Yeah, exactly. But what I found interesting is like, so my best friend, she went to therapy, and her therapist actually told her an interesting thing, which is like, treat your problems as like, don't try to get rid of the problem, but treat it as like this monster next to you that you just have to accept, like this animal or whatever you imagine it like, but don't try to get rid of it, but try to work with it. Try to accept it and accept that it's there and it's always going to be there. But next time it's there, you know what to do. And I found that very interesting, because I don't think you can easily erase your problems and your quirks and your behaviors, right? You can only redirect them and replace them by something else if you can manage. I don't know.
What I love about that is it's like a one-stage step of dissociation. Yeah, this problem is not you.
Exactly. Like this is just something you have to live with, and I think it helps with like people who have trauma from their childhood memories or something. It's something that is going to stay with you. But instead of always blaming that for not being happy or not, being in the way of your dreams and goals, I think what she said, like, accept it as, this is not me anymore. It's just a bystander. It's just watching me. I know it's there. It's fine. It's not moving. Something like that. I don't know.
Still there. Still there. Uh-oh. Yeah. How you doing? You want some food?
Exactly.
Because I'm hungry. It is. I think that's so important to, and that's what I mean. We were talking earlier about the road, the path that people are on, and ultimately humanity's lives, we follow these same paths of thought and process, and that's where these monomyths come from and all this kind of stuff.
But nowadays it's such a bummer, because you feel like all the stories that come out are like almost butchered down until there's only like the so-called character moments left, and every side character and every background is designed to just support the growth of the character. So at the end of the movie, it's like, okay, he has arrived. And it's like, that was 1.5 hours. I don't believe that. That's not how life works. Let's not kid. Let's not kid ourselves. That's not what it is.
Because everything is not a stage waiting for us to be positioned beautifully.
Exactly. No one's waiting for us to become a butterfly at the end of the.
Yes, and that again, that's something that I love about Yuasa's work, is the way he chooses his perspectives are crazy. These kind of fish eye, right in your face, popping there, and then it's like right down there. It's always a different. It's never just a flat frame. It's always skewed
dynamic,
slightly, very
always,
dynamic.
Almost like he also cares about the bug on the floor and how he sees it. No, I don't know. But that's what I really like about Mind Game as well, is that he just throws those in, like those scenes that are just have like all of a sudden a super quirky perspective, like you say. And I love that it just makes you think. You know, it's like, why did he do that? Why here? Why not in the previous scene, right? What was the... And I love that. I think the audience nowadays, I don't know, it's a bit of a chicken and the egg situation. I don't know if Hollywood's trained the audience to be lazy in a way. You know, we go to the cinema, we put a movie on Netflix, we're like, entertain me.
Yeah, and then you're at home on your phone, like, oh yeah, that was good.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, instead we should go watch a movie and be prepared to... the movie can challenge you, can, make you think. And I mean, that's the best outcome, right? If you watch a movie and afterwards you have this, it stays with you for a while, and because you have to process what you've just seen. You don't have that with like Hollywood blockbusters or...
not usually, definitely. Because it's deemed an entertainment industry.
Yeah.
And that's unfortunate, really.
But what does that even mean, like entertainment industry? Because all movies fall under entertainment industry, right? I can't remember watching a Marvel movie and, having deep thoughts afterwards.
I have.
Really?
Yes, I have. Not all of them, but I definitely have on some of them. And I'm not going to poo-poo on Marvel because, I think honestly, I'll give my honest opinion. I thought the Iron Man's up to Endgame. I thought there was actually a beautiful story between the movies, but it just didn't exist in each one. And that's the story of like Tony Stark and Steve Rogers changing as people to like become who they are by the end, which is the exact opposite of who they were at the start. And it's such a linear process, and I love that. And when I cling onto the Marvel movies, it's for those reasons where I'm just like, there's a beautiful linearity there. Now, people don't have to agree with me.
It's a good point. To be fair, I never really cared for those characters as much as I probably should have to really.
What I've been hearing at Annecy and what people have been saying is that this decade is really the decade for animation.
I'm wondering because I see this huge problem that is happening that kind of led us to this place where we need more content. It needs to be cheaper. It needs to be produced faster, which doesn't really give the studios and the writers and everyone involved a lot of choices to be like, okay, let's take our time with this or something. But because it's like, where's the money coming from? Yeah. Because no one's paying for video content anymore, right? It's all just, you binge watch a series on Netflix that, when did Netflix come up? I don't know, 15 years ago, you would have like paid between $30 and $60 to buy this series, and now, no one is ready to pay for any content anymore because everything is kind of free on the internet.
Yes.
And while you paid $10 to watch a movie a few years back, now it's like available for rent for $1 on Amazon. I don't know where the money is. I don't understand where the money is coming from. So I don't see the content getting better without that change, like that changing. And I think it just needs to get more expensive. I don't see any other.
You think the streaming platforms either need to up their costs, or do you think that's the answer to better content? Or let me posit something else. Do you think that it actually should be making less content?
Well, I think you can have it both ways. I think if they would make it more expensive and people, begin to value content again, and I do think a lot of people would be ready to pay more for what they get from these streaming platforms. I mean, that would be one way. You could maybe have the same output, but the quality might rise. I mean, the worst case would be even more content, because it's a money-making machine.
Yeah.
And that's the sad thing. Is like from the art form, it's gotten too much into entertainment. So I don't know. 90% entertainment, 10% art. I don't know. Okay, I don't want to break it down that much, but I would still say filmmaking is an art form. But I don't know. I feel like also the creators and directors' voices are just getting smaller and smaller because the money is always ending up with the producers and the studios, and they are following certain guidelines for reasons because they have to make it work and they have to bring the money in for the next production. So, there's so much that the director or creator or the writers, the authors, can't provide anymore because there's just no time, no budget. How did the strike turn out actually at Netflix?
Is it over?
I'm not sure. Is it over?
I don't know.
True, but I thought it was like, about time.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think the answers to that is then companies expanding too fast, they lose their souls. The initial purpose or vision of the studio is lost through expansion, and that's nobody's fault. They're just like, oh my god, we can grow and do this, and this, and before you know it, this, and this is multiplied, and there's no cohesion, there's no direction. It's just they've started to eat their own tail then, and the money has to keep coming in. And you could see that with Netflix. I remember my very first experience with Netflix was in America, and they would post DVDs to you, and you would get the DVD and watch it and then return it, and they'd send you the next one.
Oh, really?
That was Netflix originally.
Oh.
And I was like, this won't work. But then they put it online and everyone had access to it.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I'll never forget those letters with Netflix written across it. I was just like, that'll never work.
Yeah, you know what the problem is, that what people associate with success is always growing bigger and growing the numbers bigger every year, instead of their ambition could also be, let's keep it small. Let's try to make a sustainable system, like an internal system where we actually shovel ourselves like a freedom of I don't know
and kind of a utopia.
I don't know, or even like make our workers happier, that's never the ambition, because it's not the definition of success. It's like, if the numbers are this year, if we don't raise those numbers next year, we're not successful. And that's a weird work ethic that happens in every industry, and it leads to depression and suicide. And I think it was never as bad as it is nowadays, actually. And I do hope that there will come this wave of, 4 days work week and stuff like that. I don't know, because this is just insane.
Yeah, it's what sticks out to me there is it's like, again, a matter of perspective of the company, right? That when the terminology is wrong, because we're saying what is something success for a company, whereas if you think about it, business is a game. It's like football is a game, but football has defined rules. It has a certain period of time that you're playing. There's a certain number of people on the field at the same time. And after 90 minutes, if they haven't scored their goal, they don't get to say, hey, ref, can we have 5 more minutes? We feel like we can do it.
Yeah.
Whereas business is not that. It's not a finite game. It's an infinite game. There are no rules in business when it comes to, like, there's no agreed upon rules. There's no goal with business. Like, is there a goal with business? Is there a goal with love? What is it? The hardest
it should
things
be more about a philosophy, finding a philosophy that, a big studio company is going after.
Exactly. They need to anchor themselves to some kind of philosophy and understand that how you succeed at business is by continuing the business. That's it. You know, it's not about growing, because you can't grow forever. And the best businesses know that sometimes they're behind and sometimes they're ahead. You know, and that's what I loved about Gendy's talk last night. He's like, I'm hot now, but maybe I won't be tomorrow.
Yeah.
And he understands the game in that sense of he's just going to keep working. The money will come, the money will go.
Yeah.
And that's really the best way to look at it is, okay, we're at a kind of a wave, a peak, but there's going to be a trough.
Yeah.
And, you know, we're prepared for both, whatever. These things happen, rather than, well, our numbers are down. Fire Tim there because he did a bad project.
Gotta fire someone.
Yeah, exactly. Which is a terrible way. I mean, you're not going to create trust. You're not going to create cooperation if every time an arbitrary number that you set, the business didn't hit.
Yeah.
You're just like, well, it's about time for your kids to, you know, not have food on the table. You don't go home when both your kids or one of your kids fails at school. You don't go home and say, well, listen, we have to get rid of one of you. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
you encourage
exactly.
them and you help them grow. And that's really what's lacking in corporations. But it is changing. I do know it's changing.
Yeah, but that's why it feels like the word growth is like they see it in a sense of scale, right? It's like, okay, bigger, more.
Yeah.
While when we talk about personal growth, it's about our inner journey, our, you know, getting the best version of ourselves. So if we apply that to a company, wouldn't that be great? Like, you know, the word growth, not in a sense of bigger, more scaling up, but in a sense of let's get our moralities right here. Let's let this father get back to his kids in the even. I don't know. You know.
I love that redefinition of growth, rather than okay, we let go of 500 people. Don't worry, there's a pizza on the way. You know, it's like, oh, okay. Will you let go of me next week? Maybe, but there'll be pizza.
Right.
You know? Yeah. But I think that's so deep and intellectual. That's a great observation, Jani. I love that.
I think, I mean, the world has to change.
Yeah. Now, I know we've drifted far from Mind Game here.
I thought that's the point.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The point is we don't talk about our topics. Yeah.
Well, the movie is about life.
Yeah, it is. It's so deep and it's so experiential.
But what I really love is that it is about life and it's about the richness of life. And that is also expressed through the boldness, through the quirky animations. We might be inside of a whale, not knowing a way out, but hey, let's have a dance party, you know, because that's what life is. It's like an up and down and up and down. It's not all just sad and dark or all just happy and beautiful. You know, it's this, he just gets that balance so right. I love that.
Yeah, he really, really does. And I'm a huge fan of Yuasa in that sense. The first time I ever saw his work, my mind bended. I was like, oh, this is possible. Do you remember the first time you watched Mind Game?
Yeah, I think it was when I was in my studies, actually.
Really?
Yeah, during my studies.
So so it must have been very formative then, if it was during your studies.
I think I was still on this weird journey where, you know, the school, and it's a good thing, like the school teaches you how the industry does it, right? And I think Yuasa's like Mind Game actually showed me this possibility of like, oh, they don't seem to stick to character sheets. They don't seem to care that the characters look different every scene, or they change the style as much as they want, and it works. And he's breaking all the rules, and it still works. So I do think it influenced me, because I was like, okay, this path is very behaved. It's what most people do in the industry, but here's someone successful who did a lot of the opposites. It widened my perspective on things, because I always thought it's like, oh, if I enter the industry, I got to be able to do it this way, right? I mean, no one would take me seriously otherwise, right? And I'm still what I find encouraging about this movie is like I'm still a bit in that comfort zone of sticking to the rules, you know, having character sheets. Don't strive too far. People won't understand, right? And yeah, with this project, I really want to try to be influenced by him and be like, loosen up my drawing. Speech is like, yeah, looks completely different. Embrace it. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that challenge. Actually,
what I'd like to say is, you know, altering perspectives is a very powerful thing, and especially movies like Mind Game, where they challenge everything and they lay out a foundation of thought approach for someone is really, really important. And I love how it's influenced your work.
I just love to make people question, like, you know, the best thing is like, I just made a little short about potatoes.
Yes.
And you know, people keep guessing how it was done, and I was like, no, it's not stop motion. No, it's not. And I just love that. And I personally love seeing something that makes me guess. It's like, how was this done? And, you know, the pure fascination of the medium, and also where it's going now because I do love to integrate technology in my pipelines and use it to so yeah, I'm looking forward to find more innovative ways as well to just make it reality on like a smaller scale, small budget.
No budget.
Pocket money.
But I'm excited to see what you do as well, because you'll approach it with experimentation plus deep introspection, and that's an incredible marriage, really. I can't wait to see what you guys
Well, you
do.
Actually can't see. It's not done yet.
I can't wait to see it come out. But Jani, thank you so much for your time.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Yeah, and I hope that, you know, I know we meandered a bit in this conversation, but it was necessarily beautiful, and I love that.
Oh.
So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.